Hi. I have a quick word from that was really just the Lord reminded me of it after hearing the sermon this past weekend that my pastor did. And he was in 1 Corinthians 6. And one of the verses in 1 Corinthians 6 is verse 19, which is, "Or do you not know that your body is the temple of the Holy Spirit who is in you, whom you have from God, and you are not your own?" And as I was listening to the sermon, immediately the Lord brought to mind a dream I had back in February 2023. And in this dream, I was in this temple. And I was wandering from room to room in this temple, and it was just ornate and beautiful, and there was gold everywhere, and the pictures on the wall were stunning, and the floors were beautiful. Everything about it, it was really gorgeous, and it was decorated nicely, and I remember walking, and there were people that were coming in and out and passing me and leaving and coming and going. And then I went into a room that didn't seem quite as nice, and I saw Rihanna there. And I thought, gosh, that's weird. I don't think you belong in this space. Like, I don't think you belong here in this temple. I don't know why, but it felt off. And I walked to another room, and I saw other celebrities in that room. And I thought, it's weird. It didn't seem like they belonged there. Like, it wasn't their space. They shouldn't be there. It was off. And then I saw some other rooms that were just not well done. And I thought, that's so sad. And then one dark room. And I could feel like the pressure in the darkness. And when I woke up, I really wrestled with the Lord in it, and just spent time praying, because I wanted to know, like, what does this mean? And what he showed me is, this is you. This temple is you. This is your space. This is my home. This body of yours is my home. And the reason that you felt things that shouldn't be there is because they're not supposed to be there. Now, it had just so happened that the Super Bowl had been like days, literally days before I had had this dream. And so that's why Rihanna was there. And what he showed me is that everything you watch, everything you read, everything you hear, all the things that we consume will end up in the temple. Everything, whether it belongs there or not, will end up there. And so why it felt off is, well, I mean, I'm going to come out and say it. It was a demonic performance, the Super Bowl halftime show. And I kind of tried to not watch it, but I still was watching it. So it still ended up there. It still ended up in the temple. So even though I wasn't putting a lot of weight or like really engaging and watching totally and completely, I still half watched, and it still ended up there. And then other celebrities that shouldn't be there, that didn't belong. And the Lord said, your appetite for gossip of what celebrities are doing, like looking at the magazine articles that are, when you're at the supermarket and you're like, oh, interesting, that's an interesting story. And the Lord said, it doesn't belong there. It's gossip. Get rid of it. And that's why those rooms weren't furnished as nicely. They didn't feel as good. They weren't decorated as nice, because it's not nice. Because it doesn't belong in the house that I live in. And then the dark rooms, and he showed me those are secret places in your heart that we have to deal with, that we have to get rid of, so that you can walk in true freedom, and that I get to have those places, and I get to refurbish, re-envision these areas. And that actually brings me to a vision that I had recently when I was reading through Colossians. And in Colossians, there's a verse, and it talks about being made new, and I don't have it off the top of my head. I can't remember exactly what chapter and verse, but there's this idea of constantly being renewed in this chapter and verse in Colossians. And in this place, when I looked up what the original word is actually being said in that place. It's this constant refurbishing. It's this constant renewal of your space. So even the places that are beautifully done now, God's going to redo those even better. And so one of the things that he's showed me in this process is, one, don't be too hard on yourself where you are today, because you are where you are, and allow him to be welcomed into where you are today. And two, let him have all the rooms. Let him have all the dark corners. Let him have the places that you're embarrassed about or ashamed about or sad or depressed about. Like, let him have those spaces, because it can't be made new and whole unless we actually surrender that and give that up to him. And so I just felt impressed to come on and say, like, one, don't be too hard on where you are today, because you are so much further than you were a year ago, 2 years ago, 3 years ago. And just continue to invite the Lord and the Holy Spirit into the new places that he opens up to you, and give him those areas that he's asking you to let go of, and he's asking you to welcome him into. Welcome him in. Welcome him in. This is his house. You are his house. And what a blessing and a joy it is that the Spirit of God, of Jesus Christ, wants to indwell in us and be with us forever. Right? It's amazing.